Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz, here with my Round 7 BBL team discussion. Unfortunately, I'm not here for the live lead up tonight, so I'm going a little bit early, so I do apologise for that. Tonight's game is the Hurricane versus the Thunder down at Ninja Stadium, or the old Bell Reeve in Hobart. Weather is looking fine for that, not like all the games, and unfortunately we had another rain-affected game in Round 6. Pretty happy with 726 considering all what things considering. Did go up some rankings. Would have been nice to have Sutherland captain. Nearly went there, but because I knew Chris Green potentially had another game as my vice captain, left it there, and I was going to captain one of the Stars versus Sixers. Took it off Stoinis just before the game and went Philippi because I knew Stoinis hadn't been batting that well when he was setting targets, which ended up being the case, but he did bowl well. Unfortunately, Philippi only took the one catch and didn't make a decent score. Would have been nice if he could have got to like a 25 or 30. Wasn't the case, so it was a very disappointing captain score for me. I worked out if I kind of went Sutherland, would have been inside that top 250 right now, but that is the way these things go when it comes to Supercoach. Good to see a couple of the other fellow experts, including two-time winner Andrew. I think he's up to 33rd now, so trying to make it three times, and I think it'd be less than sort of 7 years or so. Absolutely dominating the competition. Shout out to Dr. Kano as well, another expert. He's up there I think he might be inside the top 20 now. We'll talk about my team in a second, but as I always say, if you haven't already, check us out on all our social media platforms, in particular YouTube, Spotify. Get in contact with us, Swizz26 or Supercoach Insider 100. I know a few people have shot me a couple of questions on there today, but I'll just do a kind of a general review and preview of the round. So for me, these are the changes I am looking at making. As I said, everything's kind of fluid depending on when teams are batting and bowling first, so I'm moving out the Sixers and Scorchers players as much as I can. I don't really want to, but the weather does not look good again for Sydney. Obviously, different weather reports, but fool me once, shame on me. It's just that's the situation right now, and I've been stitched up already once because of this wet weather, and it's not looking good for tomorrow's game around that. They've got the earlier kickoff, so Philippi, would have liked to keep Allen and Morris, but that's not the case. Very aware Webster and Maxwell do have the bye in round 8, but due to their break even, playing the Renegades under the roof if it's required, which it won't be because the weather looks actually quite decent here in Melbourne over the next couple of days. So I am going them with the view that I can trade them out to the Hobart players that I kind of want. But I have left enough cash in the bank if I want to get a bit creative there. And if, say, Matthew Short was named, so because Maxwell does play afterwards, the Stars game is after the Stars game this week. I do have that flexibility that if Short, or I could even potentially go Webster to Overton, if that's the way I want to go. I've got the cash to do that. So I have left a couple of moves up my sleeve. But the Stars seem to be playing some decent cricket. Maxwell, it's a little bit, I don't know still because he's not bowling. They do have quite a few bowling options. And the fact of him, he's relying on sort of coming on late and getting that run bonus. Now, he's got the ability to get 20 off 10 balls, and that's where he has managed to get the strike rate bonus, I think 3 out of his last 4 games, and he's been catching like freak catches, unreal. So I think one game he took 4, so that's 40 points. Another couple of games he's taken 20. So he's finding avenues on different ways of scoring, but there is a little bit of risk there for him, but because it's the derby, I'm sure he'll be fired up. And the fact that the Stars are actually an outside chance of making the finals, there could be something on with that. So that's where I'm leaning towards at the moment. That means I've got already 2 Hurricanes players in it. I thought about bringing a third already, but again, I don't want to be stuck in this situation where I've got too many players, just because, as I found out with the whole Heat Sixers situation, when most people hadn't gone there and then they got washed out, it affected me greatly. So Chris Graham was a bit disappointing. Same with Agar, but that's the way it goes. That could be a change if, say, Agar was potentially dropped. yeah, I could trade that. But this is the best case scenario for my team to get as many players on field and actually have the loophole situation. So Pope stays in as the keeper for Adelaide. I've got the vice captaincy on Warner at the moment, captaincy on Sutherland. That could very easily become, Webster or Maxi, depending on who's batting or who's bowling. Stoyne, Webster, Edwards is most likely to miss, so that's where I can loophole Chaudhry and have Harper as a backup option if need be. No, not the greatest backup option. Then bowlers, Rogers, Johnson, Maxwell in the bowlers, Jordan and Thornton with Agar loopholing. So that now allows, depending on who performs the best tonight, if Agar was to perform well, I can just move Edwards around to Maxwell. If Chaudhry is the one that performs well, I can keep Edwards there, given the fact that, as I said, that game looks like it's going to be a washout. And then if Agar does go well and it doesn't look like it's going to be washed out, I can always bring Buckingham on to get, say, Agar's score and then move Maxwell back into the batsman. And I can play around a little bit with that. As I said, I do have the cash to get Maxwell up to Short too, if Short is named. And then Chris Green can just sit there in my flex. Didn't have a great game last week, but we've seen enough where these players don't have great double games and they actually come out and score really well in their single week. So I'm kind of backing that situation could happen again. And if it doesn't, well, I've got some players I can move next week. Like I don't have to trade I've got Harper as well, but the 4 stars players all next week for their buy. Like potentially, if I decide if Short's playing or Overton's playing, I can always look at going Maxwell or Webster out for one of them. That leaves me with one less star, but I can always hold, say, a Stoinis or a Webster through their buy, and then use them as loophole options, and then move Agar and Green. The players I was close to getting in for Hobart, especially Riley Meredith, I really like him. Ellis has a really high break even this week, so I can hold off. But they're the bowlers, so Jordan, Ellis, and Meredith that I like. And then from probably a batting point of view, it's probably McDermott. I don't mind Mitchie Owen as well. He's been flying, and he is that bat bowler. And I was probably close to nearly pulling the trigger on him, but I'm just like, let's try to get the highest scoring players in for this round who we know are playing. And that Melbourne Derby, it's an important one because the winner could potentially play finals. But if the Stars were to win and then have to buy and then lose their last game, it's still potential that the Melbourne teams could finish 7th and 8th, which would be no surprise to probably anybody. In regards to, like, there is so many players at this point of time that we can sort of kind of be moving on and moving out. So that's just from my those traded out from that I've got in my team. No surprise, Wes Agar is a very popular person to be traded out due to that high break even. If he has a really poor game, he's going to drop cash. I'm not so worried about the cash at this stage. Just more worried about the points. So if he was to perform well, which that could happen, but at least I'm loopholing him. So if he does perform well, it's not going to affect my score. A lot of people getting on the young Sammy Constance, and with good reasons. Obviously, his first game where he got that 50, the second game not so good with the duck. People are looking at bringing in Jamie Overton. Again, that break even is not great, but we know what Overton can do on any given week. Dan Christian, a big surprise, is about the same age as me, still trucking along. Really good sort of first-class, Premier Cricket form. Got him a gig. Was kind of surprised that they set it up that way. That he was going to bowl so many overs, but even probably more surprised because the actual collapse early on, he got a good, decent bat and made some runs. Nisa, I even consider putting him aside because, and that might be another one instead of Maxwell, just because I know he's going to play the 3 games. But obviously with the heat, they've got a much stronger batting lineup. So Maxi can float anywhere, and it's kind of wait to also want to see who's left in that Stars lineup. If they're going to go the same lineup again, I've kind of got my question marks with Maxi sort of batting 5-6, where I'd like to see him up the order a little bit more. But in saying that, he's probably coming in with nothing to lose and needs to get quick runs at that time. So that works as well. In regards to a few other players, and especially if we look at the vice captaincy and captaincy for this week, I think a few people got burnt because of the double with the Thunder, and then went Cooper Connolly, and he unfortunately had a bit of a shocker. So that's the way it kind of goes. But if we go from the the top 1% of the competition. So most vice captain as it stands right now is a lot of people actually are jumping on water. I'm thinking a few of these people are still because of last week and haven't completely updated their team. But just because also they do have the opening match, people are thinking it's probably the obvious option where there might not be so many other options for us. So Owen, someone jumping on the Overton, and then the two Hobart players in Jordan and Ellis with the backup for the captaincy. No surprise, Will Sutherland is number 1, and then Jamie Overton 2, Maxi number 3 there. In regards to senior, the ownership, and more importantly, the change this week. So Nice is the one that everyone in the top 1% is jumping on. We've got 17% or nearly 100 people there. Matty Wade's a popular option as well, as say with Nikhil Chaudhry. Got a few questions asking him when's he leaving. He's actually a local player, so you don't have to worry about that. He'll be to the end. And even with Webster with the bye, they have said he will play the last game as well. So no surprise, some people are bringing him in because we know he's going to bowl at least 3 overs, and it looks like he's going to bat 3, if not 4, in the sides. And then the biggest ownership change, no surprise, was Agar. A lot of people jumping off Cooper Connolly after that poor performance. I nearly went there last week and managed to hold my nerve, so that kind of worked out for me. Philip is another popular one that has been traded out. So yeah, that's kind of. And then Mitch Marsh. A lot of people got on him last week. Apparently, he's not playing for the rest of the BBL. Steve Smith is in for 3 games, but as I said, that game will be rain affected. So for the price that he's in the 200s, it's not worth going there. Otherwise, if it was looking like a better day, I was kind of tempted because we know what Steve Smith can do in this short format. I hope that helps with your guys, what you're thinking. The big thing is there's only one more round of doubles. So it's round 7 this week, round 8, Hobart Hurricanes. So if you're in doubt, go a Hurricane. And so to set your team up for next week. And then round 9 is the last week for Supercoach BBL. Good luck for the weekend, and we'll talk soon.